So 3 to 4 years ago, I went down some deep curiosity rabbit holes to just learn like how life works, how people get rich and wealthy, how girls work, men's improvement, stuff like that. And I started reading books, like lots of books. I was watching lots of men's improvement based videos of finances, leveling up, and like workouts and business stuff, and just kind of getting your stuff together as a man, right? And over time, it occurred to me that I'm spending all this time like reading books and watching videos. How much time am I spending actually implementing the wisdom and the knowledge that I'm getting from these books, right? And then of course I came across one of Alex Hormozi's videos that summed this up perfectly and gave me like an idea that I was thinking about, but I wasn't actually too like confident in like how like realistic that idea was at the time. And Alex mentioned in that video that there's a trend going on at this point of people that get all excited to read like one book a week or a couple books a month and to have a goal of reading like 20 books a year, 100 books a year, or whatever the case is. And Alex mentioned in this video that instead of doing that, why not focus on reading one book a year and actually absorb the wisdom and knowledge and implement that into your life? So like, because on that too, um, when I researched this as well, that in terms of like absorbing information and all that stuff, book wise, you you can only like retain like 10% or less of a book that you read the first time around. The second time around, it's like 13% or whatever the case is. And on top of that too, like so you're retaining very little amount of the actual book that you read in itself. And secondly, how much of that are you actually applying to your life? So like to me, reading books is one thing to create awareness, like self-awareness and just learning something that's cool and all. But the bigger question is if you're not actually applying the wisdom and the knowledge and the experience from that book, how much of that time that you're spending, how like is that a good use of your time if you're not actually implementing like the wisdom from that book into your life? You know what I mean? Like the whole like knowledge is power thing, that's cool, but when in reality applied knowledge with application is so much more powerful than that. So, and like during that time frame too, I had like an entire list on Amazon of books that I wanted to get. And I was just obsessed with reading books to learn stuff, mainly about men's improvement, finances, financial intelligence, money, business, working out, fitness, holistic health, and things of that nature. And once again, that's when I realized like I'm spending all this time like reading books and watching like men's improvement videos on YouTube. Like how much time am I actually spending like putting this stuff to work? But with that being said too, a few books that completely changed my life and I implemented this stuff instantly that I want to share in this video is first of all this book right here, Jocko Willink. So I'm a huge Jocko Willink fan and supporter, and because his work I'm able to share with you in a minute. Completely changed my entire life for the greater good. I cannot be more grateful for that, especially when I was going through severe depression. Good stuff. Anyway, so this guy right here by Jocko, Extreme Ownership, he also has a YouTube video on a TED Talks YouTube video on this as well. That the first, from what I remember, it's either right away in the beginning or like somewhere in the middle throughout the book where he's referencing stuff from that book in that TED Talks video of his time on the SEAL teams and some stuff happened during a battle or whatever, and that he was writing down his debrief in his office to report back to his commander, his officer, whatever the case was, and he was writing down a list of what he's writing down stuff of what happened and people that were at fault. And it was at that moment where he realized that he had a punch in the face, where he realized the problem is that that there's only one person at fault for that entire situation, that catastrophic event for that battle, and that was himself. And that's where the concept that he developed and the book that he wrote from that of extreme ownership, that's where that came from. And it was awesome. So that just goes to show it too that like the epiphany that Jocko Willing had when he was knee deep in the SEAL teams as a, I think he was a major or a lieutenant colonel at the time writing that book. I'm not familiar with Navy ranks that much. I'm former Army, so Navy and Air Force ranks are a little bit different in terms of what they're called. But like he had the insignia of, I believe, a major or a lieutenant colonel at the time. But either way, like the fact that he had that epiphany moment at that time of extreme ownership, wrote a book on it later, had a TED Talks video about it, and now like his entire part of his branding is on extreme ownership. And then for guys like me that were going through severe depression, came across his work, got his book, read the book, and took action on that instantly, it changed my life. And I can only imagine like how many thousands of men out there lives have been changed from this. But so going back to my point of that, when I started reading this book of taking ownership for like everything in your life, which is like step one to growing in self-awareness, the moment I read that book, I took action on it that same day. Like anytime that, excuse me, 1 second, I'm gonna hydrate with some Jocko greens, by the way, with some water. Speaking of Jocko stuff, that's also how so Jocko greens with water in the morning. So I personally suck at drinking water, well, getting enough water in throughout the day. So a side note here, I generally my goal is to drink a minimum of 3 quarts of water per day. And for me to get in my Jocko greens for my fruits and vegetables, as well as to pour that, and which I also suck with, and to pour that in a 1 quart container of water. This helps me stay hydrated. And anyway, game changer for me. A side note with that, I'm not really promoting or selling anything. Just wanted to share what I do to help myself stay hydrated for the overall concept of mental improvement, which is a part of the overall intent of this video in general. Anyway, so yeah, so when I read the book, I took action on it immediately. So like a few examples here, like customer service wise, anytime I called up a place for like whether it was to have whether it was I have a question about my bill for a utility bill through, a utility bill through like internet, electric, whatever the case was, I would call customer service and be like, hey, so, or car insurance or whatever the case was. I'd be like, hey, here's the situation. My fault for XYZ. Now my question is, what's the next step here to solve this problem? And customer service wise, they were blown away. They're like, oh my God, first of all, this guy took fault for the situation. He's not yelling at me right now, like 99% of people do on the phone when they call customer service. And they're like, oh my God, this guy is taking fault for something. He fully admitted whatever the problem was he's calling for, that was his fault. And now he's calling to get my assistance to help whatever. Oh my God. So, and once again, the fact that I wasn't yelling at them, I wasn't screaming and yelling and be like, hey, this is your fault. What's going on with this? No, I started the conversation off with taking ownership of saying, hey, this is my fault. I'm calling because I ran into this problem for XYZ reason, my fault. What's the next step to solve this problem? Boom. And they were super grateful. They were grateful that I wasn't yelling at them, and they went out of their way and like several different ways to solve the problem. And they were grateful for that. It was awesome. And even at my corporate job or whatever, between family stuff, between my corporate job, between just interactions in person with everyday life, between going to the store, talking to like employees at the stores or whatever, and just be like, hey, so I can't find this or whatever on the shelf. I probably passed it 4 times already. Can you put me in the direction of where this is or whatever the case is? Instead of yelling and screaming and throwing a fit, or be like, or a corporate be like, hey, I made a mistake here. I messed this up. I'm doing these are the steps I'm taking to solve the problem. and go from there. They're like, oh, okay, so the problem has already been solved. Like he like the I took fault for it. I'm not yelling or screaming at anyone. I took full ownership of it, and he's already solving it. Awesome, cool. And then like someone is honking outside. Anyway, so I'm not sure if you heard that in the video. Anyway, so like, and then like, so like at work, a corporate setting, or your 9 to 5, just taking ownership in full for a mistake that you made, or it's something that you're involved in, or on top of that too, like in the event that in the event that you come across a problem at work. Oh my God, I'm sorry, I had the hiccups and burps. Anyway, so like in the event that you come across a problem at your 9 to 5 job, and you still take fault for it. Like for example, like like quite often, like throughout the week, I'll be like, hey, here's the situation. My fault for not recognizing this sooner. My fault for not for not what was at the time. So like my fault for not seeing this sooner to catch it sooner and to having avoided this problem like sooner in the first place. But here's what we were doing to fix this. Boom. And like customers, supervisors, your managers, your bosses, whatever the case, the customers, like they're so much more willing to work with you and be respectful for you and to respect you, your time, your service, and your product, and whatever the case is for the business or whatever, by you taking fault for it, by you being honest about it and saying, hey, my fault, I messed this up, X, Y, Z, here's what I'm doing to fix it and move on. And the fact that you're already taking the steps and taking the initiative to solve the problem instead of pointing fingers and blaming everyone else, but hey, this guy should have this guy should have done that better, whatever the case is. And like we're not playing the finger pointing game anymore. Instead, we're now saying, hey, I took fault. It was my fault, my mistake. I messed up. I'm taking acknowledgement of that, and here's what I'm doing to fix it. And it's not even a problem anymore at that point. And like to me, on top of that too, like so I respect someone so much more when they say, I don't know, my fault, my mistake, and here's what I'm doing to correct that. Like I respect someone so much more that takes ownership of a mistake they made or takes ownership of a situation that is a problem and that they could have done X, Y, Z or whatever to help prevent the problem in general. And like I respect someone so much more for doing that than in comparison to it's his fault, it's their fault, it's their fault, it's his fault, it's everyone else's fault except for mine. Like, and that mentality alone is huge. It's a game changer. Like literally, after applying that mentality in my life of extreme ownership between my 9 to 5 corporate job, between talking to customer service over the phone, between talking to people in everyday life, whether it's in stores, whether it's family relationships, whatever the case is, whether it's talking to a supervisor, your boss, your manager at work, just whatever, like regardless, that mentality of taking extreme ownership and taking fault for something, even if it's not your fault in the first place, is huge. On top of that, like just you're building that sense of responsibility of like, hey, I went out of my way to get this thing done because it was my responsibility and no one else's. And even if you could have delegated other people to ask other people or delegated other people for a task to complete that task, the fact that you yourself went out of your way to take care of the task at hand is huge. And it also goes back to the concept of extreme ownership. And literally, like when I was reading that book, I applied all of these concepts that same day to my life. And that was upwards of 5 years ago. It was a game changer. And I could not be more grateful for that. And so literally, like, I think that every man on the planet needs to read this book, apply this book to your life, and take ownership. So that, like, the moment that you take ownership, responsibility, and fault for everything in your life is a moment that your life will change forever for the greater good. I promise you. And I cannot be more grateful for that. Like this concept is beyond amazing, and I cannot be more thankful for that. It completely changed my life for the greater good, especially when I was going through severe depression at the time. Oh my God. Anyway, so next, with that said, so I'm just sharing with you some of the few books that have been an overall like game changer for me, like across board with everything, especially for men's improvement. Next is so the sequel to Extreme Ownership of the Dichotomy of Leadership by Jocko as well as Leif Babin. I'm pretty sure I did not pronounce his name correctly, but forgive me if I butchered his name. But like the concepts in there too take Extreme Ownership to the next level of like of how to essentially like take charge and lead at your 9 to 5 with your relationships, just lead in life in general, to take charge, um, solve problems, and just lead is awesome. And like I think a combination of these two books, like if you're in management or some sort of a leadership position at your work or whatever, I think that this is like probably one of the best investments that you can make for yourself if you are in a leadership position, whether you're a manager, whether you're a supervisor or a team leader, whatever the case is. Those two books are a game changer, and you are doing a disservice to the business or the company or the organization that you work for, or for yourself for that matter, by not reading those two books and implementing the knowledge and the wisdom of taking extreme ownership and then building leadership with your organization, business, job, whatever the case is, with that wisdom. I cannot emphasize enough how awesome that stuff is, especially as someone that this helped me overcome severe depression many years ago. So just throwing that one out there. With that being said, too, so this one, the next one I want to share with you guys is it's not for everyone. It's a bit more brassy. It's a bit more unfiltered, but it's good stuff if you can handle the truth, if you can handle the blunt, honest, constructive criticism with that stuff too. So my next one here is from David Goggins. Can't hurt me. This one was good. So that book kind of that introduced me a little bit to Jocko. I almost said Jocko for a minute there. David Goggins' background, his history of him growing up before he got into the SEALs, his life struggles going through like racism, being like a 300-pound African male man that was trying to be a SEAL, and then how he overcame, how he started with essentially like spraying for cockroaches growing up. That was his like job for whatever that he did for a living. He was a 300-pound African American man. I can't talk right now because that's fun. And then yeah, and then he had to lose like 150 pounds, like 150 pounds in like I don't know 6 weeks or a couple months or whatever to make the weight or whatever to go into buds, and he did it. And like day one, he ran like 100 yards, like walked back home and like cried, and then he tried again and again and again and again, hopped on a bike or whatever, changed the stuff that he ate, and over the next few months he lost the weight, he made weight, was able to go into buds, and then stuff like that. And like it's more the fact that I think one of my biggest takeaways from that, from his overall story, that he preaches a lot in his videos, his content, Instagram, YouTube, and stuff like that. TikTok here and there, which I haven't been on that platform in a long time. Anyway, so like it's more just the fact that he started from nothing, where he was not he didn't like he wasn't born with the Goggins mindset that he has, that we know of today, of this like of being referred to as the hardest man alive. Correction, the toughest man alive. He started being like let's say like essentially like he was um how do I want to word this? He started like he was to me like he was lost. He grew up in a world of hate, racism, and that type of stuff. And he was lost. He had no purpose. He had lack of motivation. He had no clarity. And over the course of years and decades of hard times and pushed himself out of his comfort zone and essentially like Yeah. So like he essentially built his Goggins mentality over the course of decades to be to become who he is today, of the toughest man alive. Um, and that what's fascinating about his story is that it wasn't until he got into the SEAL team, or correction, when he was going through buds, that when everyone else was just sucking it like every day, and they were just embracing the suck, so to speak, which is a common military thing in general of and that's when everyone else was like just getting their ass kicked in like the dirt and the sand and stuff like that. That's where he shined. Like he enjoyed the pain and the suffering and the misery of that. And he was just getting started. Like he's mentioned a couple times in his videos that where most people quit, he's just getting started. Like when you're running, like when you're going for a run or whatever, and you're getting tired at mile 1 or mile 5 or mile 10, which still, that's running 5 miles is no joke. He's just getting started. Like, and that's when he came up with this 40% rule of like when you're starting to get tired and fatigued and you want to quit, you're now at 40%, and you just read and you're just starting to scratch the surface of your potential of going further than that. And that's yeah, he's made all kinds of videos and content of his work with that, which is awesome stuff. And he's so Goggins, he's essentially exploited mindset mastery and how to overcome resistance, internal fear, and self-doubt to push yourself far beyond anything that you think is possible. And I myself have learned, so I've learned that your mind is actually a lot stronger than your body. And I've, so long story short, Goggins, his work with Can't Hurt Me and Far Beyond the book itself, his book also helped me overcome severe depression many years ago. And his work, oh my God, his work contributed for me of going from a severely depressed and mentally weak little bitch for me to building what's I now refer to myself with mindset mastery of just overcoming so much stuff. And I'm now in a place to where I recognize fear and resistance, and I don't need discipline, so to speak, to get things done. Instead, I wake up with purpose. I have a plan of action. I know what I want, and I just execute. And I'm also known for a guy that has lots of natural energy, and on top of like just internal drive and fire to just go after it. And I personally don't believe, well, I think discipline is, I think the concept of discipline itself is cool and all, but I personally don't need to force myself to do anything through discipline, because I personally prefer the route of purpose, clarity, and direction, having a plan of action, and actually looking forward and getting excited to your next objective and to crush it out of excitement, instead of forcing yourself to do it because of XYZ or whatever. And if it wasn't for Goggins and Jocko's work that helped me overcome severe depression many years ago, I would not be where I am today. And like those two individuals alone contributed to me going from a severely depressed and very weak mindset to now essentially being in a position of, well, of what I call of having mindset mastery, and it's good stuff. But yeah, definitely recommend to read this book as well for men's improvement. Once again, it's not for everyone. His Goggins mentality is not for everyone. He's very cut and dry. He's very honest, blunt, honest. And yeah, like the title, like the caption of it is "Master Your Mind and Defy the Odds." Like that's an overall nutshell of what he does, and it's amazing. And there's lots of people out there that are not a fan of his work, and that's okay. His work and his message is not for everyone. I personally love his message. I love his work. I love that blunt, honest, real talk, because that is what helped me overcome many setbacks and severe depression, all those things. For me, it was that wake up call that I needed a long time ago to overcome things and just start getting after it. Purpose, vision, clarity, direction, goals, stuff like that, good stuff like that. Um, I think what he's doing is absolutely amazing, and I encourage him to keep like going further with that, and I wish him the best. Awesome stuff with that. That man has been a game changer for men's improvement across the board. Good stuff, and I cannot be more grateful for finding his work. Next we have Another good one, another good one that I got into not long after those two. Um, Unfortunately, this is when I started to get into financial intelligence and stuff. And this guy unfortunately was battling some major health obstacles. He overcame cancer by fasting in the jungle for I think like 90 days or whatever the case is. And that's the first case I was that I was shown or brought awareness to of how to naturally overcome cancer without going through like chemo and all that stuff. And this guy right here, Stefan Arnio, the author of Hard Times Create Strong Men, I cannot emphasize enough the value of this book of how important I firmly believe that every man on the planet should also read this book. It's so for me, it gave me a reality check and a wake-up call of what it means to be a man in today's world, and that the cycle. This cycle of history for men has been repeated a lot, like throughout the years. But essentially, a cycle is hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times, and the cycle repeats itself. Now the application of this is simple. Essentially, so let's in the context of war, right? Not that I'm advocating war, but the context of war, like World War II, the war on terror, stuff like that. Um, let's go back to World War II. Okay, so like World War II. Okay, the context of war in general. So like during the times of war, men went to war and they went through battle, they went through hardship, they went through struggle, whereas women supported the war to, at the home front, building weapons, machinery to support the war itself. They took care of the kids, they took care of the home, the family, whatever at the home front, while the men were at war to battle XYZ and go from there, right? So hard times in the war itself of waking up with essentially two correction. They woke up. So men at war have two goals in mind: to defeat the enemy and get back home alive. That's literally like the biggest two primary objectives of men that are at war, right? We don't care about the basketball game. We don't care about Netflix. We don't care about the video games. We don't care about our cell phones. We don't care about um video games or watching, binge watching, whatever. We're sitting on the couch and watching beer. Like the only two things those guys cared about, especially during World War II, whatever, is defeating the enemy and getting back home, getting themselves and their units and their battle buddies back home alive. That was it. And it was through those hard times at war of waking up like in war in battle, survive to defeat the enemy and get back home. That was their mission. And then going through all that, they came back home and build families, build infrastructure. Um, Everything changed for the greater good, especially after we won the war, and families were built. The women they went back. Well, not went back. They continued with their gender roles, so to speak, in society of being feminine, nurture women to support the household and the family and the growth of that from the feminine point of view with it, right? Nurturing, supporting, taking care of the kids and stuff like that. And well, the men worked more. They came back home. They worked whatever job they had to support the family financially wise, to provide, protect, and procreate, right? And so, once again, the hard times of going to war created the good times of strong families, a strong economy, strong men, and just overall strong communities themselves, right? Men, masculine, strong men things, while the women were doing feminine, strong women things of nurturing, taking care of the kids, the house, being overall a strong feminine women, right? And that's a balancing act. Strong masculine men provide, protect, procreate. Strong feminine women nurture, balanced, supportive, stuff like that. And there's more to it, especially with the women's side of it, but that's kind of a quick nutshell of that. And so that was the good times, right? And now here's where the problem comes into play, where things get easy, things get comfy, things get convenient because we're in good times. And then we forget about the hard times that create the good times. And now when things get easy, we get comfy. Guess what? Now we start to get soft, we start to get weak, right? And now we start to lay on the couch, and now we start to lack motivation to actually do anything because we're not at war anymore. We don't have that. We've now lost purpose. We've now lost direction. We're just chilling. We're just watching Netflix, watching the game, or whatever, drinking beer on the couch. We have no like motivation to work out at this point because we're not at war anymore. And then that now translates to so the good times, right? So we were once in the good times. We're now into good times creates weak men because men now we have no motivation to work out. We got fat, lazy, obese, all that stuff. Um, our nine we now dread our 9 to 5 because work and we don't like our jobs itself. We now dread waking up every Monday morning because we dread our life, we hate our life, and we now use the gym as a coping mechanism to escape life. And from there, you start resorting to things like drugs, alcohol, binge watching Netflix, video games, fast food, whatever the case is, to essentially use that to escape your life that you hate because you hate and dread. And now men start to become unattractive to women. Women are now unattractive to men because they're now separating themselves because men are now turning it into weak men. They're no longer being masculine. They fell away from our roots of provide, protect, and procreate. We've now become lazy. We've now let people walk all over us. So men are now starting to become women. So now men are starting to become weak. Bad choice of words with that. So men are starting to become weak, and women are now starting to repel that because they're no longer attracted to weak men, and so they start to have to now do the masculine role of provide and protect, and they don't like that because that's not part of their biological features, which that's not yeah that's the men's role, and now women are now going against all that, and so you're now in a time of weak men create hard times, and now you're in this role where men are now playing the victim mentality that life isn't fair, that the rich get richer while the poor get poorer, that accomplishing XYZ goals requires work and it's not worth the work. So now we're just gonna do nothing after an hour. So at this point we now start our countdown to Friday every Monday morning, dreading the work week. We have no desire to do anything. We now need pre-workouts, lots of caffeine just to build up the motivation to work out because apparently improving yourself and achieving your ideal physique to look good, feel good, be strong, fit, and healthy. Apparently that requires motivation to accomplish that now. And now we need once again, external stimulants of pre-workout, caffeine, motivational videos, and XYZ stuff just to get motivated to get out of bed to actually show up to the gym because once again, being a strong, fit, masculine, strong man to provide, protect, and procreate, that's now becoming correction. That's now where was I going with that? To do all that, that now requires work that guys don't want to do anymore because the work is not worth the reward. So instead, they resort to a life of mediocrity, of obesity, disease, and addictions to alcohol, drugs, pornography, video games, Netflix, poor quality food to get fat, obese, and be even more and more unattractive to women. And and now it's now it came to, oh yeah it gets better, and then from there mental depression now goes through the roof. And now we're resorting to therapy and hopping on antidepressant medications and doing lots of things to create stimulus for ourselves because our mind and our body can't get the internal motivation to do anything anymore. On top of that, we're now exposed to stimulants all day long with social media, scrolling our phones all day long with easy and access to that from our phones. And we now have this 24/7 access to stimulants all day long. And then when it comes time to actually improve ourselves on our time, to work out, eat good quality food, to mobilize and stretch to get work done, to actually accomplish our goals, all of that requires work. And so, whereas instead we have the options of the couch or to binge watch Netflix or to watch the game and to eat Cheetos and drink beer and eat a bunch of crap food, and that stuff sounds more appealing because we have the option of that versus actually going through the struggle, the quote unquote the struggle of putting in the work to work out, to get fit, strong, and healthy, to eat good quality foods, to put in the work to actually accomplish whatever, to take the class, to read the book, to go through the work to get your degree that to obtain or to essentially to do XYZ to achieve the dream career that you want to have, to actually live the life that you want to have of happiness, success, fulfillment, and profits. And all of that requires work. So instead, we now resort to the easy path of comfort, convenience, and ease of the couch and Netflix and beer and video games and all that stuff because that's easy. And the path of success, freedom, and happiness requires work over an extended period of time, and that's now too hard. And guys avoid that. And that's literally where the 1% mentality comes from, of guys that are willing to sacrifice the temporary gratification and pleasure of Netflix, the couch, the beer, the crap food, and scrolling social media all day, and scrolling. And essentially, the guys are the 1% of men, like global wide, are willing to put. They're staying focused on their goals, their purpose, mission, vision, direction, and they're to accomplish their goals that they don't that they now have the ability and the skill set to overcome the resistance of the distractions, to put the distractions aside and to stay focused on their goals. And literally that's become so rare with men that it's now referred to as the 1% mentality because only 1% of the world's population has taken the time to go through 10 years of struggle, so to speak, of hardship and struggle and sacrifice to achieve the life of success, happiness, and freedom, to live the life that they desire most. Whereas 90% of the world, and which is being generous, it's actually closer to like it's way more than that. So only 10% of the population, especially for men, have achieved the life that they desire. Whereas 90% of the world, especially for men in general, wake up miserable, exhausted, defeated, and live a life of mediocrity because putting in the work over an extended period of time requires work, and instead it's not worth it, and so instead they resort to the options that we now have in a world of comfort, ease, and convenience of Netflix, the couch, the beer, the video games, the binge watching TV, watching the football game, and doing that, and then to wake up a year later, look at yourself in the mirror and realize, oh, I have not accomplished anything last year, but putting in the work requires work, and that requires work, and I'm not willing to do that. So and then it's endless mess. Whereas the funny part about all that is that when you look back to World War II and like the war on terror and all that stuff, the times that those men were going through of battle on the battlefield, the things they saw and the life and environment that they experienced, they would be laughing at us right now of what we consider hard. Because as Goggins mentions in his book, as well as his content in his videos, is that we have now lost touch of reality of what hard is. We no longer even know what hard even feels like. So when like our 9 to 5 that we perceive today as hard, that is a freaking, like, you're just getting started. Like back in war, like that was like, oh, that was part of life. That's what you do as men. And then from there, once you're done with that, once you're done with your 9 to 5 or your whatever it is that you do for a living, Now it's time to go back to your own personal development of get the workout in, to read the book, to take the class, to get the degree, to do whatever you have to do to be qualified enough to get the job, the dream job, the promotion, to make the money, to get the career path, to build the house that you desire, to live in the spot that you desire, to be able to have the resources to have your dream house, your dream car, to attract the dream girl that you desire, and to live your dream life essentially. But and the fact that today we have lost, we've gone so far off course of what hard is, that our 9 to 5 is now becoming a dreadful task that we hate, dread, and do not look forward to at all throughout the week. And once we survive that, we now look forward to the couch and the beer and the Netflix and scrolling social media all day. Like going back to times of war, our great grandfathers and whatever, our generations way above us would be laughing at us right now with how weak that we got. And it's um like now, like fast forward to today, people freak out when the internet goes down for an hour, or when Facebook goes down for an hour, or when our phone cracks or breaks or whatever. Like our great ancestors would be like, really? Like that's what you're worried about? That's what you're freaking out about? Is that the your phone went down for an hour? Really? Whereas when they got back from war, they were harvesting, they were taking care of the farm, putting in 12, 15, 20-hour days to take care of the family, take care of the farm, build the community, craft like metal or whatever, build things and just create empires. And they solved problems as they were going. They built skill sets, they built networks, built communities, and solved bigger and bigger problems. And they actually looked forward to problems because they were solving them on the spot. They were learning, they were growing, they were building, they're creating legacy empires, and it was good times. And the economy was doing awesome, resources were everywhere, and life was good. And now in like today's world, like the smallest things of like Facebook went down, or like celebrity gossip, or like the freaking your phone got cracked, or whatever the case is, or um I don't know, like just like the smallest little things that we freak out about on the daily is laughable compared to what the hard times that our ancestors dealt with, not even that long ago, which is funny. And that's where this whole thing comes full circle, where like weak men create hard times, and the good times create weak men. It's just the fact that we've lost touch of reality of what hard feels like. And like when we try to do so, like so right now it's December, it's December 10th, and next month is January, which is the start of a New Year's resolution, right? And most people that start that, they look forward to some type of from a health and fitness standpoint, some type of a weight loss challenge, to lose weight, to get fit, to get strong, to get healthy, to start a new lifestyle, whatever. And then, or the discipline routes mentality, or the grind mentality of I'm now going to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to get my workout in, to get some work done, to start this project and all that stuff. And as you probably know, these statistics of this is that 90% of people or more quit within 30 days of starting their New Year's resolution. When things get a little hard, when they wake up with lack of motivation, they're tired, they're sore, they wake up and they're just like, why am I doing this again? And they quit because things got hard. And once again, our answers will be laughing at us. Like, really? Like you quit because you woke up tired, and you woke up sore for a couple of days? Whereas they went to battle and woke up in war, and being shot at and being blown up, and like all that stuff every day for 2+ years straight, to change the fate of the world by winning the war, and seeing gore and blood and violence and all that stuff on a daily basis. But yet you woke up tired and sore, and you decided to quit on your goals, and you decided to quit on your future self because you woke up tired and sore. Wow. Like our answers will be laughing at us. And that's also why I'm not really a fan of the New Year's resolution at all. I'm a firm believer in having clarity of what it is that you want, having purpose, mission, vision, and goals, direction, and to be constantly chasing that all year round and to go from there. And that's, oh my God. But yeah, like, again, there's a reason why there's a category called the 1% mentality because there's less than 1% of men out there in the world's population right now that still have that mentality of our ancestors did back in that time frame of doing what is required to accomplish X, Y, Z to achieve the life of success, happiness, freedom, and fulfillment and achievement that you desire. And 90% of the world's population, probably more than that at this point, um, they choose a life of mediocrity because putting in the work for putting in the amount of work that is required, the amount of effort that is required over an extended period of time of 5, 10, 20 plus years to achieve their goals that requires too much work and too much effort and too much sacrifice. And the fact that we now live in a world of convenience and comforts and options of the couch, the Netflix, the scrolling social media on your phone all day, and doing nothing. That essentially the options of doing nothing and procrastinating and living a life of convenience and comfort. That sounds more appealing than actually putting in the work to accomplish your goals. And that's why most people live a life of mediocrity because they're not willing to put in to do what's necessary to achieve their goals. That's why the 1% mentality exists. Whereas 10% 10% wise have the mindset and the mentality to achieve their goals. They're not there yet, but they're putting in the work on the daily to accomplish that, and I applaud their efforts. I applaud the 10% efforts that wakes up every single day, ignores the trends, ignores the gossip, ignores the distractions, ignores the couch, ignores Netflix, ignores the game, chooses to get to bed on good time, chooses to get good quality sleep in, chooses to work out, chooses to get strong, fit, and healthy as a man, chooses to invest in themselves by purchasing a course, mentorship, some a class, some type of book to learn the skill to accomplish their goals instead of buying stupid shit that has no value and that will depreciate and that you'll end up throwing away and get bored of it 6 months to a year later. And to the 10% that are investing in themselves with knowledge, skills, physical development, personal development, mindset development, building their network and doing what they have to do over an extended period of time to accomplish their goals. I applaud their efforts. I respect their efforts. So Alex Hormozi pointed this out too, and this hit me not that long ago as well. I think that it's so difficult to achieve XYZ goal because there is no guarantee that you'll ever achieve it, right? So with our I've already made a separate YouTube video on this as well, but like the fact that so with our 9 to 5, we're guaranteed a paycheck at some point in time, right? Um, when you buy something at the store, when you swipe your credit card, you're guaranteed to get something in return for that, right? When you eat some food, you get instant gratification right away from eating your favorite foods. When you watch the game or whatever, you get instant gratification of just seeing the game in progress. Now, when it comes to working out, when it comes to business, when it comes to making money, when it comes to accomplishing XYZ goal, there is no guarantee of anything that you will accomplish any of that. And that's what makes it challenging and extremely difficult because you can spend the next 5, 10 plus years with business, personal development, working out, all of those things, and there's still no guarantee at the end of the day that you accomplish XYZ goals, or there's no time frame of when you're expected to achieve those things. Now, when you are getting a service done for whatever the case is, you're given a time frame of an hour. This will be done in an hour. Or if you're getting weight loss surgery, or whatever, it'll be done within an hour. If you go to the dentist office, your teeth will be cleaned within about an hour. If you watch a movie, the movie itself is about anywhere from an hour to 2 hours long. So the fact that for the easy things of like comfort and convenience, there's instant gratification that we have an estimated time frame almost down to a T of when we will get the outcome or the essentially the outcome and get what we paid for in X amount of time. Whereas personal development of working out, business, personal development, there is no guarantee, first of all, that you'll achieve anything. And secondly, there's no time frame of it. It could take 6 months, it could take a year, 5 years, 10 years, whatever. And that's what makes it incredibly challenging. And that's something that Alex pointed out too, like in a video, I think at some point in time this year, that there is no guarantee of success. And that's also why pretty much that, or yeah, that's also why like 90% of people that start a business within the first year they quit because things don't go their way and they quit. It's the same thing for a New Year's resolution, for accomplishing XYZ goal. Within the first 30 days, people quit because things get hard. And that's also where I loved Alex's mentality or the video that he put out. So the title of the video, it was a YouTube Shorts, essentially like the one message that you'll give to young people just starting out. And this message changed everything for me. It was essentially that to pick a goal. Okay, to start. Okay, so the message was to pick a goal and do so much work that it becomes unrealistic for you not to succeed. And this is me paraphrasing now, to put in that much time, that much effort, and that much volume of work over an extended period of time to make it virtually impossible for you to fail. And then to put in that work over an extended period of time without thinking you're smarter than you are, and then you probably get there in half the time. But you have to start that first hour and not wait a decade to get there. And I absolutely love the statement by Alex Hormozi. That was a game changer for me. And I think about that statement like every time that I find myself mentally exhausted and defeated from the day or whatever, to take a quick like 10, 15-minute break and get back at it. Because with a reminder to myself that if I want to achieve XYZ goals, I have to do so much work to make it unrealistic for me not to achieve that outcome. And that's been a game changer for me. And like, it's just, once again, it goes back to the fact that there's just no guarantee or ETA that you'll achieve your goal. And that's what makes it incredibly challenging for people, for the 10% that are trying to achieve a life of happiness, success, fulfillment, and profit and all that stuff at the end of the day, to achieve a life of success, freedom, happiness that they desire, because there's no guarantee at the end of the day that you'll ever achieve that. But once again, as Alex mentions too, which I absolutely agree with, is that the only guarantee is that if you quit and fail, you will not achieve your goals at all, and then go back to your previous life of mediocrity that you dread and hate altogether. Whereas at some point in time, eventually, if you put in enough work, put in enough volume, put in enough effort, and do what is required over an extended period of time, you'll eventually achieve your goal. There's just no like time frame for it. Eventually, you'll get there. It's just a matter of like, right. So, yeah, that's kind of my my spiel with that. Quick. Speaking of financial stuff too, I also really enjoyed this book for the Rich Dad Poor Dad series. Roberts Kiyosaki. I can't pronounce his word. I can't pronounce his name to save my life. So yeah, Rich Dad Poor Dad series. That was my introduction a couple of years ago to financial intelligence. I'm learning how to invest in myself from a money standpoint of real estate, and things of that nature, like real estate, of how to invest into skills, taxes, and stuff like that. And then from like, in terms of like attracting women and female dynamics in the sexual marketplace, I also got into these two books as well. Unplugged Alpha from Richard Cooper, as well as The Rational Male. Those books taught me a lot about female dynamics and how that stuff works, which is cool, like to build that awareness of how to understand women and stuff like that. But without like this stuff, without men's improvement, without taking ownership, without developing yourself, without personal development, without being on your purpose, mission, vision, and goals, and becoming the strongest version of yourself as a man, knowing how women operates is useless to you for a man until you become the strongest version of yourself and become a prize that's worthy of being attracted to and worthy of pursuing for women. So that's kind of my that's literally my biggest takeaway in the last like 5 years of learning all this stuff and applying it to my life um into improving my life 100-fold, personal development, relationships, business, mindset, everything across the board. And I've like so not to like break or anything, but I have like evolved so much over the past 5 years of simply like reading these books, taking the courses and investing in myself and applying myself to become a completely different person than I was 5 or 10 years ago. And through mental improvements of financial intelligence, of taking extreme ownership and just putting in the work over a extended period of time to accomplish your goals. And that's why, and that's what I learned. Despite learning female dynamics with this stuff, learning how women operate, and just learning how to play that game, so to speak, and being attractive to women. The thing I've learned is that, in an overall nutshell, none of that matters until you become a worthy prize as a strong, masculine, strong, powerful masculine man to be worthy, to be a worthy prize for women to pursue. Like you can understand how females work all day long, understand why they do things for biological and logical reasons, but until you take ownership of your life, stop playing the victim mentality, and to actually put in the work to accomplish your goals, to be on your purpose, mission, vision, um, to be essentially to chase excellence, to be on your purpose, and to once again purpose, mission, vision, and goals, to be on your purpose, chasing excellence, as Richard Cooper likes to say as well, to chase excellence, and to stay focused on what you have to do as a man to accomplish your goals, to live a life of happiness, profit, success, and freedom, and to build a life of resources to provide, protect, and procreate, to build that life as a man that a woman can enter into. Until you get to that point, this stuff will be this stuff just won't be as valuable to you because until you build yourself into that position to be that attractive, strong, attractive character of a strong, powerful, masculine man that has resources to provide, protect, and procreate, to be an attractive character that women want to pursue. So it took me 5 years to figure this out, gentlemen. So yeah, my advice is to men out there that are watching this video to constantly be striving to improve yourself, to constantly be having goals for yourself, to find your purpose, chase excellence, purpose, mission, vision, and goals, to create the clarity around what is that you want, why you want it, why it's important to you, and why and how it's going to help you improve and change your life for the greater good. Stay focused on your goals, your mission, your purpose, your vision, and to always be striving to improve yourself, to become overall the strongest version of yourself every single day, to improve yourself every single day by even the small amounts is critical, because if you're not improving yourself, if you're not learning, if you're not growing, you are falling behind and decaying from a biological from anyway. Yeah, like so my once again my advice to men: constantly try to improve yourself, focus on your goals to become the strongest version of yourself, to be that strong, attractive character, to become a strong, powerful, masculine man, high value man that women pursue and that men respect, and to grow your network of um other like-minded people that also want to grow and evolve, and to essentially weed out the guys that want to play the victim mentality and resort to life mediocrity because achieving your goals requires too much work. Don't be that guy. Get rid of those guys from your network. I have I so on that said too, I absolutely love offering mentorship to guys to help them improve their life. But something I've learned is that you cannot help a man improve their life until they're ready to learn and grow in the process. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time. If they want to play the victim mentality, that's cool. If you're wasting your time barking up that tree, when they want to learn and grow, they will reach out to you. Until then, stay focused on your purpose, mission, vision, and goals. Ignore the women. Don't fall into their crap. As once again, as Richard Cooper once said too, that he preaches this a lot. Women should complement your life, not be the focus of it. So when you stay focused on your purpose, mission, vision, and goals as men to become the strongest version of yourself, and have women complement your life, to add value to your life, to support your life, boom, gold. So that's kind of a wrap up for this video before I drag it out too long. Yeah, right on. just wanted to share some stuff with you guys of books that have completely changed my life for the greater good. Starting with Jocko's Extreme Ownership and Leadership stuff right here. Moving on to Hard Times, Great Strong Men and the History of Life for Men, the Cycles of Life for Men, Can't Hear Me by Goggins, and Mindset Mastery, Financial Intelligence, How the Rich Get Rich and How the Rich Think and Why the Poor Stay Poor, followed by Female Dynamics in the Sexual Marketplace to actually attract women and understand female nature and how they operate. And once again, why none of that matters until you become the strongest version of yourself by taking extreme ownership of your life and you become the strongest version of yourself as a man and constantly be striving to improve yourself to be tunnel vision, focus on your purpose, mission, vision, and goals, to have clarity of what you want, and why it's important to you. To tear it up, I'm excited for you guys. That's all I got. That's all I have for this video. Once again, stay focused on your purpose, mission, vision, and goals, and do that for a long period of time, and you'll crush it. Keep stacking those wins, and hope to see you guys crush it. Until next time, stay tuned for more. JB out.